Hello guys, thanks for tuning in, and in this episode, or in this video, I'm going to disassemble this CM.045 from Cyma. This is a CM045. First, you need a pair of pliers and a Phillips head screwdriver to start the disassembly process, but first and foremost you need to make sure there is no battery in the gun, safety first. And yeah, of course, as usual, you are doing everything at your own risk, so I am not going to be held responsible for any kind of injuries, damage, and things like that. This is the charging handle mechanism with the rod, and this part here latches the top cover in place. You just push that forward, move it a little bit upward. You clearly see there are parts in the upper part of the gearbox which keeps this in place, so push it forward, lift a little bit, and you can remove it backwards. The charging handle itself has a protruding part downwards, which goes between the receiver wall and the gearbox itself. You pull it backwards, and yeah, there you go, you remove that. There are two more things that keeps the, actually three more things that actually keeps the gearbox in place. One is the pistol grip, the other is the fire selector mechanism, and the third is the hop-up chamber. The hop-up chamber has a L-shaped plastic spacer in front of it. You just grab it, and you can use a pair of pliers, but you can remove it by hand, so you don't necessarily need a pliers there. Here it is, looks like this. Move it upwards. Use your Phillips head to remove the pistol grip. This is one of the easiest gun to work on, so if you are looking at servicing these kind of guns or doing your own upgrades, this is something you should start, because this is an easy gun to work on. I need my pliers to remove the fire selector mechanism, and it's a normal clockwise thread. You start it with your pliers, and you can remove it by hand, so it's not rocket science. Take care of not losing parts like the little brass spacer. Camera of course not going to focus on it. There's a little brass spacer on this cylindrical part, which is actually connects the actual fire selector mechanism on the gearbox side and the gearbox lever itself. So just put them together like that, and try not to lose anything. That's generally a good idea when you're working on airsoft guns. To the parts that usually passes together, you keep it together on your desk once you have removed them from the gun. Okay, so pistol grip removed, fire selector removed, L-shaped spacer removed from in front of the gearbox, and you push forward the hop-up chamber. In this case it stays in place, and you just wiggle the gearbox out and try not to break anything. This one, and usually Cymas are tight fits, so you need to wiggle a lot and try it until it gets out or comes out. So the tolerances are tight. The fire selector mechanism actually gets in place of removal, but I done it a couple of times, so it's doable. But take care not to break anything, as usual. If you break something, you have to fix it, so yeah. Usually tight tolerances are signs of properly engineered products. In this case it does not really mean any advantage in general use, so it's just tight fit and makes you struggle when you try to remove the gearbox. Usually these guns are usable right out of the box, so you don't necessarily need to disassemble them. Here we go. But for local field limits I need to reduce the performance. So actually it's a downgrade in terms of performance. Let's put the gun itself aside. And here we have the gearbox. By the way, the top cover and the Trunnion. The Trunnion is made of, let me show you. The Trunnion here is made of zinc alloy, this part here, which has the latch to the top cover, and it's probably, it's not easy to see, but let's try to zoom on it. So there is here is this cylindrical part, a rod actually, that keeps the upper part of the foregrip in place, and that's operated by a mechanism here, pushes the rod forward when the top cover is closed, and it allows you to remove this upper part of the front grip when the top cover is open. So make sure when you close your top cover you keep the upper part of the foregrip down, otherwise you may risk to break the trunnion itself, or any part of the mechanism. Maybe you could also break this piece of sheet metal here. Just take care when you open and close the top cover on your Cyma AKSU. So you have the gearbox. Wow, zoom is actually almost perfect for this demonstration. Also, my beautiful light here is broken, so I had to attach my head flashlight above the gearbox. You can remove this part of the fire selector mechanisms right away. These are usually held in place by the side of the receiver itself, so it's not going to fall apart. You don't have to worry about that. Also, the cylindrical part on the fire selector also keeps this in place. So now you can remove my hand, and I'm looking for my Phillips head. Next two steps. Let's remove this cover here. This is a plastic piece right there. It's just a dust cover and covers the gears. And when it's new, it could be a little tricky to remove, but still not rocket science. Also, here we have this sheet metal top piece, which actually only holds the cabling in place. At the same time, I try to figure out how to remove it. It's usually not that difficult. I usually use a flathead and pry it forwards like that, just like that, and just push it forward to remove. Okay, it's done. Next step is to remove this kind of gear sets, partial gear sets, quad gear or whatever. This goes right through the gearbox, and actually this is part of the fire selector mechanism, and this one is moves the. I need to zoom out. This is just too hard to. to disassemble the gearbox and focus on what the camera is picking up at the same time. So yeah, so this is an essential part to remove to have the ability to disassemble the gearbox. These screws usually on Cyma is held in place by Loctite, so you need to apply a significant amount of force to remove these screws. As I told you, just keep the parts together to avoid losing small bits and pieces. Okay, let's put that aside. Next step is to remove the motor. The motor is in a cage, held in place by two long screws here, as you can see. They are Loctited and can be easily removed. The motor itself is, as you can see, has a pretty strong magnet, so it's an neodymium magnet, a high torque motor, which helps to pull very strong springs, but in this case we don't need very strong spring. It has moderate rate of fire. It's enough for an AK. It's authentic, to say at least, but gives you a very good trigger response. So unlike the high-speed motors and the usual stock motors, it does not need any noticeable time to get up to speed. So the trigger response is almost instant if you have a proper battery. Okay, automotive fuse. Not yet decided if I want to remove that or not. I have some silicone cable here, but I'm not sure it is going to be enough to rewire the gun. Also, the owner of the gun wants to keep the original Trunnion connector on the original battery, so maybe it is not going to happen. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that actually holds the version 3 gearbox together. This assembles the same way as the buoy. They are using the same design idea, and they copy the Marui version 3 gearbox. What we already see, we have a chrome cylinder here, like the buoy, so they decided to change the stock brass cylinder to chrome cylinder, or at least a steel cylinder, which is actually does not make a real difference or any difference in real life. It's just looks silver instead of gold. Unlike the buoy, this one has the 7mm bushing, so no ball bearings going to fall apart here. I prefer this one. It does not make any difference. People used to say that ball bearings put less stress on your motor, but let's be real here. When you keep your FPS under 360 or say 400, you don't really need to. It does not make any difference. But in terms of durability, these are never going to fall apart as they are machined from one piece, so that's a definite plus here. What I already see, it has a it has no hole on the back of the gearbox, unlike the buoy. I remember I disassembled the buoy, plugging the screwdriver there. So let's zoom in a little bit and hope the camera picks up what I want. Usually use a bigger flathead. I'm looking for it, but this is here we have. This is the Cyma 0.045 gearbox. The difference is that the C has an opening here for the blowback mechanism, but that is not common extra on these Cymas. Usually most of them come to Europe without the blowback mechanism. It's not really a problem, but the gearboxes are already ready to such things if you want to have a blowback later on. Okay, so I'm holding down the spring guide and the piston, but the trigger is trying to come out and I don't really like that fact. But hey, it's strange, but does not make any difference. Okay, gear. Steel gear set. Bearing spring guide. I really like these spring guides. These are made of entirely from steel. Even this rod here is steel. It has a Phillips head on the front. What is a surprise? It has an irregular pitch spring, so this looks really good. I forgot to chroma the gun before the disassembly process.